I never imagined I'd be here telling this story, but I need to get it off my chest because what happened was so intense, so forbidden, that I still shiver just remembering it. It all began so innocently, or at least that's what I thought at the time. You know those moments in life when you look back and think, that's where everything changed? For me, that moment came on a Sunday afternoon, during a barbecue at my house. My son had invited his friends over, like he always did on weekends. And there I was, playing the role of the good hostess, serving cold beer, chatting about soccer with the boys, making sure everyone felt at home. But there was one of them, Lucas. My son's best friend since they were teenagers. The kind of boy I'd watched grow up right before my eyes, but who, all of a sudden, wasn't a boy anymore. Do you know that moment when you realize someone is looking at you differently? When you feel there's something in the air that shouldn't be there? That's exactly what happened every time my eyes met his. Attention, sweet, dangerous. One of those feelings you know you shouldn't feed, but that still makes your heart race. And on that Sunday, that tension was about to explode. It was a typical summer day, the kind that makes it unbearable to stay indoors. The sun was blazing, and I had decided to fire up the grill for the boys. My son loved bringing his friends over, and I always enjoyed hosting them. I prepared everything with care: icy beers, fresh vinaigrette, crispy farofa, and those special sausages they couldn't get enough of. When they arrived, it was the usual chaos. Loud music, laughter, endless talk about soccer and video games. I moved among them naturally, handing out drinks, joining in bits of conversation here and there. I had known them all for years, seen them grow from awkward kids into young men. It warmed me to see their spontaneity hadn't been lost to adulthood. But Lucas was different, more mature, more attentive, more respectful. While the others joked and fooled around, he always found a way to talk to me. He asked about work. He complimented my cooking. He treated me like a woman, not just his best friend's mom. And though I didn't want to admit it, it flattered me. That Sunday, though, he was even more charming than usual. Shirt sleeves rolled up, that mischievous grin, always finding an excuse to hover near me by the grill. I tried to ignore it, but my body reacted in ways I couldn't control. It was as if he knew exactly the effect he had on me, and was testing just how far he could push. The barbecue was a success, like it always was when I poured myself into it. The afternoon flew by in laughter, chatter, and the warm glow of a family Sunday. But as the sun began to set, one by one the boys excused themselves, family obligations, early work, girlfriends waiting. Even my son had to leave. He had promised to pick up his girlfriend at her grandmother's house on the other side of town, and he was already running late. "Mom, you don't mind cleaning up the mess, do you? I'll do it tomorrow, I promise," he said in a rush. I smiled and told him it was fine, like I always did. It was just dishes, leftovers, the usual post-party cleanup. That's when Lucas spoke up. "Let me stay and help, Auntie. It's not fair for you to handle this alone after making us such an amazing barbecue." My son didn't hesitate. He thanked his friend and bolted out the door. And just like that, it was only the two of us. Me and him, alone, in the silence of a messy house. At first, everything still seemed completely normal. He gathered cups and plates from the table. I packed away leftovers in the fridge. It was the same kind of domestic, innocent scene that happens 1,000 times in any home. But between us, there was something different. An electricity I couldn't explain. Every time he passed close by, a shiver climbed my spine. We ended up in the kitchen, me washing greasy dishes, him drying them with a towel. So simple, so ordinary. And yet, the air between us was heavy with unspoken tension. Each time our hands brushed as we passed a glass, my heart pounded in my chest. And then, he broke the silence. "Tia, can I say something without you getting mad at me?" He lowered his voice, eyes locked on mine. "You're an incredibly attractive woman, much more than you realize. Your son has no idea how lucky he is to have a mother like you." The way he said it. It wasn't polite. It wasn't casual. It was deliberate, loaded. I forced a nervous laugh, tried to brush it off, change the subject. But my voice betrayed me, trembling, unsteady. Thank you, Lucas. You're very kind. He didn't let go. Instead, he reached for my hand, still wet from the sink. His grip was gentle but firm, and his words came out in a whisper. It's not kindness, it's the truth. And deep down, I think you know it too. My whole world flipped upside down in that moment. There he was, my son's best friend, the boy I'd watched grow up, telling me things that set my body on fire. My mind screamed, "Stop this now." But my body answered differently. When his fingers held mine, a jolt of electricity ran up my arm. It was as if someone had awakened senses I had buried for years. My heart pounded so hard I was sure he could hear it. Panic seized me. Thoughts flashed like lightning in my head. This is wrong. He's my son's friend. What am I doing? I have to stop this. But there was another voice too, quieter, but stronger. A voice I hadn't heard in years. The voice of a woman who missed being wanted, who longed to feel seen. Not just as a mother, but as a woman. I tried to pull my hand back. He held tighter, not enough to hurt, just enough to keep me there. Relax, don't be afraid of me. I'm just being honest about how I feel when I look at you. His voice was different now, deeper, steadier. Not the boy who used to kick a soccer ball in my yard, a man. I was torn. Part of me wanted to run. The other wanted to see how far this would go. Our eyes locked, and suddenly, time stopped. It wasn't a boy's curious gaze. It was a man's stare, confident, hungry, certain. I tried to look away, but he pulled me back every time. It was magnetic, dangerous, and thrilling. You feel it too, don't you? He asked. His thumb brushed my fingers softly. I couldn't answer, but my trembling body gave me away. My legs weak, my breath quick, my cheeks burning. He noticed everything and smiled. Then came the blow, the words that shattered every wall I had left. How long has it been since someone truly desired you? Since someone looked at you the way I'm looking at you now? It hit like a punch to the gut, because he was right. Years had passed since anyone had seen me like that. Not as a mom, not as a caretaker, but as a woman. He leaned closer, his voice a velvet trap. I know this is complicated. You're thinking of all the reasons to say no. But what if it was just between us? Just once. Just so you could remember what it feels like to be alive again. The proposal hung in the air, so clear, so indecent, so tempting, and instead of fury, I felt my defenses collapsing. My mind became a battlefield. On one side, the responsible mother, the woman who always made the right choices. Her voice screamed inside me, "This is madness. You'll destroy your son's friendship. You'll ruin everything. Stop now." But on the other side, there was another woman. A woman I hadn't let breathe in years. The one who longed to be seen, to be touched, to feel alive again. And her whisper drowned out reason. When was the last time you did something just for yourself? When was the last time you truly felt alive? Lucas read the war on my face. He leaned in even closer, until I could see every detail, every eyelash, every line on his young face. "I know you're scared," he said softly. "I know you're thinking of everything that could go wrong. But what if it goes right? What if this is exactly what you need?" His voice was hypnotic, persuasive in the most dangerous way. Part of me still wanted to run. But the stronger part, the curious part, wanted to know what it would feel like to cross the line. "I need to think," I whispered, my voice weak and trembling. But he shook his head slowly, with that disarming smile. "Don't overthink it. Sometimes we think too much and miss the best moments of our lives. Sometimes it's better to just feel." He was right about one thing. I'd spent my whole life overthinking, always cautious, always logical. But right then, my body was louder than my mind. My heart was racing, my hands sweaty. For the first time in years, I felt alive. "No one will ever know," he promised. "It'll be our secret, just one time. I'd never tell anyone, you know that." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe I could live that forbidden moment and leave it in the shadows forever. And that's when I realized my resistance was gone. Every argument, every rational thought had crumbled under the weight of desire. I was already his. When the words slipped from my lips, it surprised even me. "All right." Barely a whisper. But he heard it. The smile that spread across his face was a mix of victory and hunger. There was no turning back. I had just crossed a line I never thought I would. He moved toward me slowly, carefully, as if giving me one last chance to change my mind. His eyes searched mine for hesitation, but there was none left. Once I had chosen, adrenaline surged through me, intoxicating, unstoppable. "Are you absolutely sure?" he asked, his arms braced on the counter, caging me in without touching me. I couldn't trust my voice, so I just nodded. My heart thundered so loudly, it drowned out every other sound. What happened next felt like stepping into another life. It was as if I'd left my body, watching from outside. This other woman, reckless and starving, making choices the dutiful mother never would. But at the same time, I had never felt more myself. Every touch, every kiss, every whisper was charged with an intensity I thought I had lost forever. He awakened a part of me I had buried for years. When it was over, we stayed there in the kitchen, my mind spinning. He was calm, almost serene, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. He helped me fix my clothes, smoothed my hair with surprising tenderness. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice filled with genuine concern. I didn't know the answer. I only knew I felt split in two, half drowning in guilt, half intoxicated by the sweetest poison I had ever tasted. And then, the sound of the front door opening. My son. Lucas greeted him like nothing had happened. They joked, grabbed the video game controllers, started talking about soccer. And me? I stood in the kitchen, my body still burning, watching them. But every time Lucas's eyes met mine, I knew we now shared a secret that would change everything. The days that followed were torture. By daylight, I tried to keep everything normal: chores, work, conversations with my son. But my mind kept dragging me back to that moment in the kitchen. Every detail replayed itself over and over. The way his hands touched me, the way his voice dropped when he whispered, the way I felt alive again. And then, the guilt. It crushed me like a weight on my chest. I felt like the worst mother in the world, the worst person in the world. How could I do that? How could I betray my son's trust like this? Lucas wasn't just his friend. He was like a brother to him. And I had turned that bond into something dangerous, something dirty. But the most terrifying part wasn't the guilt. It was the longing. In the middle of all that shame, there was a gnawing hunger inside me, a desperate craving for the intensity of that night. It was like I had tasted a forbidden drug, and now my body wanted more. I knew I couldn't resist if it happened again, and that terrified me. I started avoiding the house whenever my son brought his friends over. Errands, sudden visits to friends, grocery shopping I didn't need. Anything to avoid being alone with Lucas again. Because deep down, I knew if we were left together, I wouldn't be able to stop it. Keeping that secret consumed me. It felt like carrying a ticking time bomb in my chest. Every conversation with my son felt like a lie. Every laugh, every casual moment, it was poisoned by what I was hiding. Lucas, on the other hand, seemed perfectly at ease. He still came over as if nothing had changed, still joked with my son, still looked at me differently. That was the worst part. Those lingering glances when no one was watching. Those little excuses to stay longer, to help out. It was like we shared a secret code, a silent language only the two of us understood. It both thrilled me and terrified me. Nights were the hardest. I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, replaying it all, wondering if he was lying in his bed, thinking about me too. The obsession grew, dangerous, uncontrollable. I became paranoid that someone would notice, that a look, a slip of the tongue, an awkward silence would expose us. My son, thankfully, didn't seem suspicious. To him, everything was the same. But I knew. The facade couldn't last forever. Even my friends noticed something different about me. They said I seemed distracted, nervous. I brushed it off, blaming work and stress. But inside, I was unraveling. Lucas had awakened something in me I couldn't put back to sleep. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a different woman. I dressed with more care. I carried myself with a new energy, one I hadn't felt in years. Men on the street began to notice. Even my son made comments about how different I looked lately. It was like a fire had been lit inside me, one I couldn't control, no matter how much it scared me. Lucas noticed too, and it only fueled the dangerous game we were playing, subtle comments when no one was around. "You look radiant. You've been glowing lately." Always with that smile. Always with that look that pulled me back into the abyss. The truth was clear. I couldn't keep balancing on that tightrope forever. Something had to give. A decision had to be made. But in my heart, I already knew. This story was far from over. 3 weeks after that Sunday that changed everything, my worst fear came true. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner when my son walked in. His face was different, serious, distant, as if he'd been carrying something heavy all day. My heart sank instantly. I knew. Something was wrong. "Mom, I need to talk to you," he said, sitting at the table. My legs went weak. I had to grip the counter just to keep from collapsing. "What is it?" I asked, my voice trembling. He looked me straight in the eyes. "Lucas told me something today, and I don't know what to do with it." My world shattered in that instant. It was over. Everything was about to come crashing down. "What did he say?" I forced out, barely able to breathe. My son hesitated for a moment, then spoke. "He told me he's in love with you, that he can't pretend anymore, that it's destroying him inside." The ground disappeared beneath my feet. I hadn't expected this, not a confession to me, a confession to my son. It changed everything. It made the situation even more dangerous, more complicated than I could have imagined. And then came the blow that left me speechless. "You know what surprised me most, Mom?" my son continued. "Realizing that you feel something for him too. Don't deny it. It's written all over your face every time he's here." I couldn't breathe. I had no words. I was exposed, completely. I braced myself for the explosion, for the screaming, for the anger. But what came instead stunned me. My son stood up, walked over to me, and wrapped me in a tight hug. "Mom, you deserve to be happy. I've watched you sacrifice everything for me for years. You've been alone for so long, always putting yourself last. If it's with Lucas that you find happiness, I support you." Tears streamed down my face. I hadn't cried like that in years, from shock, from relief, from emotions I couldn't even name. "He's been my friend for over 10 years, my son said softly. "I trust him. I know he'd never hurt you or our family. And you're the most incredible woman I know." In that moment, the guilt that had been crushing me lifted. Not completely, but enough for me to breathe again. I had expected destruction. What I found instead was acceptance. Today, 6 months later, I'm here telling you this story because sometimes life surprises us in ways we could never imagine. Lucas is no longer just my son's best friend. He's the man who made me rediscover love and passion. And my son, instead of hating us, was the one who gave us his blessing. He reminded me that happiness doesn't always come in the form we expect, that sometimes the most unlikely endings are the most perfect ones. So, here I am. Not the same woman who walked into that barbecue 6 months ago, but a woman who finally allowed herself to feel alive again. And maybe, just maybe, that's what happiness really is. The courage to embrace love, even when it comes from the most unexpected place.